The Biden administration has proven it knows no bounds when it comes to green energy and environmental measures. This week they enforced energy efficiency restrictions on air conditioning, all in the name of tackling the climate crisis. But the war on your appliances is just the beginning. Joining us to talk about the elaborate plans of regressives of the left to make the lives of ordinary Americans even worse is President at the Centre of the American Experiment, John Hinderaker. John, always great to see you. We can't see into your kitchen from where this camera angle, but I assume you've got the bugs ready for dinner tonight. Tell us about it.
Well, we have a big industrial-style gas stove, and I can tell you, Rowan, we are not cooking bugs in our household.
Excellent. Now, you've written all about the madness of what the Biden administration are doing, but you have said, seriously, that the bugs thing is underway. Tell us about it.
Yeah, you know, I read way too much stuff that leftists say to each other, so I kind of see these things coming. And what the left wants is for us, you and me, not necessarily them, to eat bugs instead of meat. No more throwing steaks on the grill. They want us to boil grubs and fry crickets and so on. And when you tell people this, they think, oh, that can't be true. But the fact is, it is happening. And the beachhead is flour. And so in the European Union, for example, they've now approved as food products crickets, locusts, mealworms, I think 4 bugs altogether that are now being dried and made into powder and put into foods. And this has become very common for dried crickets and so on to be used as a food product. And the thing I wrote about in that post, Rowan, is that the Italians, bless their hearts, are standing up against this. And the Italians are saying no bugs in our pasta and no insects in our pizza. And if people want to buy food products containing dried insects, they can, but they have to be segregated in the supermarket in a separate location with a big sign so that people know they are buying insects. But this is just one area, Rowan, where the liberals are deliberately trying to make our lives worse.
Rita.
Well, you mentioned Italians. I would like to see what the Asian community thinks about getting rid of gas stoves, because I don't know how you're exactly going to put a wok on one of those electric, terrible stoves. I also want to ask about the Biden administration's ongoing energy issues. As a country that a few years ago you were energy independent, and now they are gone completely the other way, and yet they complain about the industry not increasing production and adding to the cost soaring. What's the situation there, and have they come up with any way to do something about the soaring prices?
You know, Rita, it's unbelievable. There is no reason why we should be short of energy. You know, the world is full of oil and gas, and the world is full of coal and uranium for nuclear power. I mean, there is no reason why energy shouldn't be affordable and plentiful as it used to be, as it has been. But the liberals are just desperate to constrain our standard of living. And so they always use the environment as an excuse. You know, everything they want to do, oh, yeah, well, it's for the environment, it's for the climate. But the reality is that people's needs for affordable energy so they can live their lives the way they want to are not being met. And the current administration has no desire to change that. They only want to make it worse. They only want to continue this insane and impossible effort to substitute wind and solar energy for the variety of sources that we use today.
James.
I want to move on now to this fascinating fight now that's happening between, sort of three-cornered fight between Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Now, I have a crazy theory that basically Donald Trump tried to pump up this idea of the arrest to get himself back on the front pages. You've got a really interesting post on your Powerline blog which suggests much the same thing. Walk us through this whole fight with the Manhattan DA, who seems like, he seems like an idiot, frankly, for trying to even pursue these charges. But at the same time, Donald Trump seems to be being exceedingly opportunistic about this, and it's pumping up his tires. He's raising money. He's raised $1.5 million off of the back of it. Where does this all leave the fight with Ron DeSantis?
Well, there's a symbiotic relationship, James, between Trump and the Democratic Party. The Democrats want to make Trump the face of the Republican Party for obvious reasons. He's the guy that they think that even Joe Biden can beat in 2024. And of course, Trump wants to be the focus of attention, so he eats it up. And they have this symbiotic relationship. So this all goes back to the fact that apparently many years ago, Trump had a one-night stand with a porn performer named Stormy Daniels. And then years later, apparently he paid her $130,000 for a non-disclosure agreement to just stay quiet about it. And for years she did, but then she came out, violated the agreement, talked about it. And Trump recorded that payment of $130,000 as legal fees incurred by one of the companies that he owns. And so Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney, has been, for I don't know for how long, weeks, months, investigating this. And there's a statute in New York State where if you falsely recorded something for accounting purposes, that is a misdemeanor. So that is what he's been investigating. Problem is the statute of limitations has run on the misdemeanor, and so he has to pretend that it's a felony, and it's a felony if to commit another crime. What's the other crime? Well, the other crime is a campaign finance violation. However, there was no campaign finance violation. The DOJ has already looked at this. Trump used personal funds to pay a personal obligation. That's legal. If he had used campaign funds like Hillary Clinton did, that would be illegal. So the whole thing, frankly, in legal terms, is a farce. And I think now there's a debate going on within the Democratic Party as to whether they want to go ahead and charge Trump or not. You know, on the one hand, they want to keep him in the public eye. Their base would love to see Trump in handcuffs, you know, but the case is so weak, it'll probably fail. And then they're afraid Trump will rise up, you know, stronger than ever.
So, sorry, Rita.
Well, you mentioned that the Democrats want Trump to run because they think Biden can still beat him. Is that the case? Do you think if it is Biden v. Trump round two, that Biden is going to prevail?
I do, Rita. Biden beat Trump in 2020, and Trump certainly has not done anything since then to make himself a more desirable candidate. The majority of people in the United States can't stand Donald Trump. It's not a big majority. It's 52, 54%, you know, whatever. But they're not going to change their minds. Donald Trump is not going to be elected president again. And that's why the Democrats are so desperate to try to make him the Republican nominee.
So where do we stand with Ron DeSantis?
Well, DeSantis is edging closer to an announcement. I think he's going to run. He's finally started commenting on Donald Trump, and in a way that I think is pretty effective. Among other things, he says, well, I can't really say anything about making payoffs to porn performers. That's not in my wheelhouse. I don't have any experience there. When he talks about his record as governor of Florida, which of course is fantastic, that is his real strong point. And he distinguishes himself from Trump by talking about COVID and how Trump went along with all these shutdowns, whereas Florida was the free state, you know, during the COVID fiasco. And Donald Trump gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Anthony Fauci, which DeSantis is now attacking him for. And that's going to play very well with the Republican base. So I think that campaign is starting to take off.
Fascinating. Well, I'm a big fan of both of them, so I watch with eager anticipation as we get into the pointier bits of the primaries. John Hinderaker, thanks so much for coming on Outsiders, as always.